A little while ago, I made a video making the case that the Casio AE1200W is the greatest watch ever made. And I think I made a pretty compelling case. But today we're going to take everything about that watch and make it a lot better with some help from SKX Mods and their Casio Royale kits. We're talking about getting rid of all of the plastic on these watches, all the resin, replacing it with things like stainless steel, sapphire, high quality FKM rubber, and even bronze. It's going to be pretty awesome. Let's take a quick look and then we'll get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to Just the Watch. My name's Dave, I live in Japan, and I love to collect affordable watches. And if you're looking for affordable watches, there's one brand that arguably sits above all others, and that is Casio. They make some insane watches for the price. The Casio Royale or the AE1200W being one of them, which you can typically pick up for around $20. And that's one of the things that I love about the Royale is the price. They pack so many features, so much functionality, so much comfort into a watch that's just insanely cheap. But along with that low price tag, you are getting very cheap materials. I mean, you have to. You can't build a $20 watch out of things like stainless steel and sapphire or bronze. And that's where SKX Mods comes in. Now, they sent me all the parts for this video for free, which is why you saw the paid promotions flag at the beginning of the video. However, other than the parts themselves, I didn't receive any compensation, nor did they have any input into the content of this review. And SKX Mod has a very wide range of parts available for the Casio Royale, and many of the parts are also compatible with a few other Casio models. So if you don't like that world map on the Royale, there's a few other options for modules that you can use for starting points. But today I'm going to be focusing on the Casio Royale because that's my favorite of the bunch. And with all the parts that they sent over, I'm going to be building 3 very different upgraded versions of the Casio Royale. I actually went out and purchased 2 more. So I had my own personal Casio Royale and I bought 2 more for this project. It's going to be a lot of fun. So quick rundown on all the different parts that are going to be going into this. The main core of this build is the metal case that SKX Mods has produced. That comes in a variety of finishes, a variety of materials, including bronze, which is really awesome. We'll be saving that one for the last, so stick around for that. And the case has a sapphire crystal set into it. So with just that alone, you're immediately going to upgrade from a plastic resin case with a plastic crystal to a full metal case with a sapphire crystal. Additionally, they produce upgraded bracelets and rubber straps that are custom fit for that case. These are also compatible with the stock ones. So if you wanted to only swap out a strap or a bracelet, you have that option as well. And the final piece to this puzzle is the faceplate, which is kind of optional. You don't have to do that one, but if you want to give the front of the watch a little bit of a facelift, use something with like maybe a brushed metal finish with a higher quality than the plastic one that's included in the stock ones, you have that option as well. So with that out of the way, let's jump in and start building these watches, and then we'll go through the 3 different versions that I've come up with at the end of it. So this is going to be one of the easiest mod projects out there, and the results are really fun. I think you wind up with a really significant improvement over what you started with. You'll probably be able to knock this out in less than 15 minutes. And SKX Mods includes almost all of the tools that you're going to need to do this. You will need your own spring bar removal tool, but other than that, all the tools that you need, all the screwdrivers and tweezers are all included in the package, so you can open it up and just get started. To perform the modification, you just need to remove the strap from the original Casio Royale, unscrew the screws from the back of the case back, and pop the module out. After removing the module, you're going to see that little plastic faceplate. You can either use that one in the new one, or if you got a replacement from SKX Mods, if you got one of the cool metal ones, you're going to use that instead. But after checking for dust and fingerprints in the new case, just throw in whichever faceplate you decide to use and carefully insert the module. Now, there is one little trick you need to watch out for. The module has these little metal pushers for the buttons, and you need to make sure that those are seated properly in the new case. In order to get it in, you might need to use a small screwdriver to kind of press in those little metal springs on the side of the digital module to make sure that the pushers on the case are contacting properly with them. If you're having trouble getting the module into the new case, that's probably why. Again, just take a small screwdriver and push those little springs on the side of the module in as you're inserting it in so that they can fit in over the pushers. Now you're going to use the same case back from your unmodded Casio Royale, but SKX Mods includes a new gasket bracelet and different screws that match the case, so make sure you use those and not the original parts from the Royale. This will ensure that you maintain that 100 meters of water resistance. After screwing everything together, you're done with the mod. All you need to do is choose which strap you're going to use. You can use the original unmodded strap, or you can use one of the upgraded ones from SKX Mod. Okay, so with all the parts that they sent over, I built 3 different watches that have 3 very distinct characters. Let's jump through and take a look at those now. First one we're going to go with is kind of the classic build. It has the metal bracelet, and it looks very similar to one of the stock Casio Royales that are available. So this mod is cool because this is like a real version of what Casio was kind of trying to simulate the look of when they created their metal version of the Casio Royale. The Casio AE1200WHD version of the Royale comes on a folded metal strap, and it comes with a silver painted case that's still made out of resin or plastic, just like all of the other Royales. But they obviously want it to look like it's metal. And while it's a nice look, it kind of comes across as just being fake to me. So I love that one of the options that you can get here is a full metal case and a full metal bracelet. It's a solid link bracelet, so it's a much better bracelet than comes with the AE1200WHD. At a glance, this is going to look just like the normal Casio Royale, but it feels entirely different. The case here is awesome. It follows the design cues of the Casio Royale's resin case to a T, except now everything is full metal, solid stainless steel, and that cheap plastic crystal is replaced with a full sapphire crystal. One thing that I appreciate about SKX mods is that they do seem to be respecting the Casio trademarks. They're not branding Casio on any of the parts that they produce. And since the case of the original Royale doesn't have Casio printed on it, SKX Mods is free to produce a case that looks exactly like it, but just with much higher quality materials. But if you opt to upgrade the faceplate and go with one of the metal faceplates, you will see a little bit of a gap where Casio is normally written, and it's just going to be blank on the SKX Mods faceplates. And they also produce faceplates that are completely sterile. So if you want to go for more of a sterile look that doesn't have all of the text and markings that the Royale is kind of infamously known for, you're also free to create that one as well. For me, the faceplates provide kind of a minor upgrade to the look, but that's by far the least noticeable change. If you go for the ones that have a brushed finish or a silver finish, that's a little bit more noticeable, and it's nice to be able to change up the colors a little bit. But I kind of like the original faceplate, so I wound up keeping that on some of the mods that I did. Now, one thing to note about this metal version, the case has kind of a matte finish, sort of a bead blasted finish, whereas the bracelet is brushed. So there is a little bit of a mismatch there, which is unfortunate. I would have liked to have seen a matched finishing between the case and the bracelet. And it's also worth noting that the bracelet features a pressed clasp rather than a milled one. For the price, I think a lot of people would have expected a milled clasp, something a little bit higher quality. That doesn't really bother me that much. It does keep the clasp very thin on the wrist, but I know it will bother some people. Finally, comfort-wise, it feels like a watch on a solid stainless steel bracelet. It's got some heft to it. It is definitely a drop back in comfort from the unmodded one. The unmodded Royales are extremely light, extremely comfortable. You're going to lose some of that comfort by putting so much solid steel on your wrist. But again, really cool mod, and kind of cool to see what Casio was sort of trying to give you but didn't want to actually spend the money on. It's cool that you can actually produce the full metal sort of real version of what the Casio Royale ideally should be. Next one we're going to look at is a lot different. This one is using a high polish case, and I wanted to go with kind of a dress watch look for this one. So this one's cool because SKX Mod produced a high polish version of their case, which really gives it a unique look. And while Casio hasn't produced sort of a chrome version of the Royale, they do some other watches that have this kind of chrome plastic finish, and this kind of reminds me of that a little bit. I thought it had more of a dressy look, so actually rather than pairing it up with one of the stock straps or SKX Mod straps, I paired it up with a leather strap that I got from Vario a while back. Now this strap was designed for the Casio Royale, so it fits it perfectly. And yeah, it just produces kind of this sort of weird, dressy, retro look. I don't know, that combination of leather and digital kind of gives it a bit of maybe a steampunk vibe. And then to really complete the look, I paired it up with one of SKX Mod's brushed silver faceplates. The result definitely has a little bit of bling to it, but I think it's pretty cool. You'll also notice that on this version of the case, rather than printing the words World Time and Illuminator, they're kind of embossed or engraved in here, which gives the watch an overall more subtle look. Okay, now on to watch number 3. We're going to check out that awesome bronze case. Okay, so this is the one that's by far my favorite. The bronze case just adds so much character to it, and I think it just looks great with the Casio Royale layout. And when you pair it up with one of SKX Mod's FKM rubber straps, the comfort is just out of this world. I just took this watch with me on a trip back to America. I was crossing between 3 different time zones, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. It was convenient, it was comfortable, it was unique because I knew that nobody else had a Casio Royale exactly like this one. It certainly didn't feel cheap, and I love the way that the bronze is already starting to patina. Again, I think the look just perfectly complements the design of the Royale. Like the polished version, this one has just sort of the embossed or engraved lettering on the case. It's not printed, so it's a little bit more subtle. I like that they have sort of bronze or goldish colored pushers that match the look of the case. And again, there's just something so incredibly cool about having a Casio Royale with a bronze case and a sapphire crystal. Now, the FKM rubber strap is outstanding, but it is expensive. At around $50, you're talking about more than the cost of most Casio watches. And to me, that seems like a high price for this strap, but you do have to keep in mind that this is a custom strap that's really not going to work on a lot of watches. It'll work on a couple of different Casios because Casio does a lot of these watches that have that sort of flared design with 18mm lugs and then a jump up to a wider width. So this particular strap will fit on watches that have 18mm lug widths, and then it immediately flares up to about 24.5mm. It's going to fit the Casio Royale perfectly, and it's also going to fit a lot of other Casio watches. And so again, while this is an expensive strap, it's really cool to have this option because one of the most common complaints that I hear from people is that they have a Casio watch that they love, but the strap breaks before the watch does and they can't find a good replacement. And so most of the time people just wind up replacing the entire watch. And with this strap costing $50, unfortunately that's probably still what a lot of people are going to do. But if you're willing to spend the extra money, this strap is extremely well built. It's very comfortable. It requires no break-in. It's a very nice, supple FKM rubber strap. And while it makes less sense to put a $50 strap on a $20 Casio watch, but if you're doing this mod and you're adding a stainless steel or bronze case and a sapphire crystal, adding this strap I think is a good option. And for me, it gave the best results of all the different strap options that I tried in this mod project. So this upgraded bronze and sapphire Casio Royale is now my Casio Royale. That's the one I have in my collection that I'm going to be wearing from here on out, and I really like it. So those are the 3 watches that I built out of the parts that SKX Mod sent over. This has got to be one of my favorite mod projects that I've done. It's so easy and the results are really cool. And I think really the only thing you have to consider is whether or not the cost is worth it. The parts themselves are very high quality. I didn't have any problems with quality control or finishing. They're very true to the original Casio parts, just upgraded versions of them using upgraded materials. And that's exactly what I would want out of something like that. The question is going to be if they're worth the money that you're going to pay. For a total conversion, including the cost of the original watch to use in the mod, you're looking at anywhere from like $150 up to $180, close to $200, depending on which parts you mix and match. And that's kind of expensive when you're going from what started out as like a $20, $30 watch. And it's kind of hard to quantify whether or not it's worth it because there's not really much else to compare it to. When Casio does do full metal versions of like their G-Shock or something like that, prices typically are between $300 to $500 and even higher. So in that respect, this is not unreasonable, but for around the same price, you could also be getting an automatic watch from Seiko, from their Seiko 5 or even their Seiko 5 sports collections. Or if you go off of AliExpress, there's a ton of homage watches that you can get that are going to feature automatic movements and sapphire crystals and ceramic bezels and all kinds of other high quality components. So this really is geared towards the fans of the Casio Royale. And I think fans of the Royale are going to find it worth the cost. Again, this is just such a fun build and it's such a great watch that I think you wind up with at the end of it. And the upgrade parts are going to give you a lot more durability. The straps will last much longer than the stock Casio straps. The sapphire crystal obviously is going to be just a huge upgrade over the plastic crystal that comes in these. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for this review today. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And if you are a fan of the Casio Royale but don't want to spend all that money on the upgrades, you could also just get a t-shirt. These are available at my website at justthewatch.com. That'll wrap it up for today. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.